from the great sunflower state of Kansas. Senator, how are you, sir?
Well, Mike, I tell you what, I'm better today, but yesterday was one of the worst days of my professional life. Yesterday, the Democrats set the Constitution on fire. They gut-punched the Senate, basically breaking down these powers, divided powers we're supposed to have, checks and balances. Remember high school government checks and balances? Congress could check the power of the executive branch. Well, yesterday, the Senate basically did away with an impeachment trial, and I think it'll affect the future of America from this day going forward.
Tell us what happened specifically, and then I want to ask you what should have happened, knowing, of course, that there's going to be partisan differences, right? I mean, the Democrats obviously don't want to show the failures of Mayorkas, but in a sane, sensible world, I want to ask you what should have happened. But first, what did happen yesterday?
Well, I feel that what's most important is that there was no impeachment trial. There was no impeachment trial for the first time in American history. We received the articles of impeachment. There was no trial. What happened basically was Chuck Schumer said what the House sent us was unconstitutional, that it was a frivolous impeachment over there, and it was a waste of time, and we're not going to have a trial. That's what transpired. We tried a couple maneuvers. We've been trying for 2 weeks to shame a Democrat into voting to move ahead with the trial, and realize, a vote to not have this trial is a vote to keep the border open. It's a vote to tell the family Laken Riley that your daughter's life doesn't matter, let alone the 300 fentanyl deaths that we had yesterday, 300 more today as well. So that's the story. Like I said, it just feels like we were punched in the gut yesterday, and the Constitution again just set on fire.
Wow, 300 fentanyl deaths a day. It's unbelievable. We just read through the articles, Article 1 and 2 from the House, and that was in there. The number of fentanyl number one death of people 18 to 45 Americans, 18 to 40. Number one death. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that number is three times more than the number of people we lost in Vietnam. Just to put it in perspective, over 3 years, 250,000 deaths from fentanyl, 3 times the number of people that gave their life in Vietnam protecting America's freedom. So it's a big number.
Man, even if it was just that, that's just straight chemical warfare from China via Mexico.
You got it.
Like that should be enough. But it's that and much more. Okay, what in a sane world, again, knowing the fact that the Democrats control the Senate, what do you think should have happened yesterday?
Yeah, so remember when Trump was tried for one of the impeachments, the Republicans controlled the Senate. And we could have done the same thing theoretically and said, we're not going to have a trial, right? So,
whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So the 2019 one, the Ukraine one?
Okay, I got to yes. That's when the Democrats, where Republicans held the Democrats had the House. They impeached Trump, and then they sent it over to the Senate. And I would have said the same thing in the Senate. I was still in the House, but I would have said the same thing in the Senate. Oh, look, this is not really a crime or just misdemeanor. This is not what the Constitution was talking about. But gosh, I basically went through 3 impeachments here in a very short time in my career. But what should have happened is the House managers. So when an impeachment starts over on the House side and they say, we need to proceed with the impeachment trial in the Senate, they send managers, House managers, and your listeners saw a lot of this with the different Trump 1, Trump 2 impeachment trial, what a farce those were, another witch hunt. But then, it usually lasts days. This would be the news for days at a time as they presented all the evidence, probably, 3 days this week and 2 or 3 days next week. But the Democrats do not want this story. It is so toxic to them that they did something unconstitutional yesterday and basically tabled the entire impeachment trial.
That's never been done before.
Never been done before. 31 impeachment, 21 impeachments in the history of the country. 4 times people died or they resigned, but the other 17 they had a trial.
Wow. Okay, so Article 1 we went through, and I could see how a political hack could say, "Oh no, these are differences of opinion, Senator," and whatever. But it's Article 2 that is a bigger problem. Here is your colleague Mike Lee yesterday on the floor.
Okay.
Was going to play Senator Mike Lee, but my internet's not loading here. Let's give it 3 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
He is even more wrong, far more so with respect to Article 2, because Article 2 accuses him of knowingly making false statements. This is a violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1001, a felony offense. If this is not a high crime and misdemeanor, what is? If this is not impeachable, what is? What precedent will we be setting? We need to address this.
It's the lying in front of Congress that is an undeniable problem, right, Senator?
Exactly. Let's go back to history again. Let's go back to Bill Clinton. What was he impeached for? I think it was lying to Congress. Interesting, Lindsey Graham, one of my colleagues now, was one of these House managers for that particular impeachment trial. It's kind of Lindsey Graham's coming out party to show, to say, my gosh, this guy's really gifted. Yeah, so we've impeached the president for lying to lying to Congress. And by the way, we're going to have Mayorkas before us today, and we'll see if his nose grows like Pinocchio.
So what happens today? What's the next step?
Yeah, well, look, the impeachment deal is over with. But it just so happens on my Homeland Security Committee, we're going to have Secretary Mayorkas in front of us. And, there's going to be some fireworks. We've got Ron Johnson's on that committee. Who else is on it? Of course, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, myself, Rick Scott. So it's going to be we'll have some tough questions for him. And, this will be our mini trial, I guess. We will try to have a mini trial during this little committee hearing, right?
That's good. We're talking to Ron Johnson tomorrow, so I look forward to a recap on that. My last question for you, Senator, is why are and how are the Democrats so good at politics? How are they so good at it? And Republicans, it seems like, can't get their act together with stuff like this.
Well, I think, it's integrity. You would not get 49 of us to go against our conscience. I do think that Republicans eventually, I'm going to do the right thing, even if everybody else in my caucus disagrees with me. And I think there's a dozen or 15 of us, maybe more, that integrity is just so runs deep in us. And I think that's one of the characteristics of a Republicans. We're not lemmings. What the Democrats are doing is good as just to bite their tongue, bite their integrity. There's no way that these folks feel like that this was the right thing to do yesterday, the Democrats on their part. Yeah, and they're lemmings. So they'll do the political calculation. They'll all stand in line and they'll jump off the cliff together.
If you bumped into Schumer in the hallways today, what would you say to him?
Senator Schumer, you destroyed the Constitution yesterday. I don't know how you sleep at night. You destroyed this institution. You are a threat to this republic. In the rest of the history of this country, if the president and the Senate are of the same party, it'll be hardly any chance at all you'll have an impeachment trial ever again. You just gave away the leverage, the powers that the founding fathers gave us. I don't know how you sleep at night.
Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas. Great to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Bye-bye.